Hey everyone, it is Tuesday, May 4th, and I'm here again on time, on track for Leading from Heart. So, this is my weekly conversation that I bring online, and I can see my comments are showing. I can see comments. Oh, I'm very excited. Anyway, so today, Leading from Heart, we are going to focus on waiting to get into the game. So this is really around waiting till we feel the right way to get started. So oftentimes we act or don't act based on our feelings, and feelings are extremely fickle and unpredictable. So to rely on them can actually head us down the wrong road, or really get in the way of allowing us to do what it is we want to do. So there's no requirement for us to feel ready. Feeling ready is kind of irrelevant before jumping into the deep end. So I know there's lots of people out there that are going to say, that's not true. You got to practice. You got to be, like ready, set, go, all primed. And I get that. I get the concept of that, but that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about all the ways that we stop ourselves based on how we feel. So if you're an author and you don't feel like writing, you're not going to be very successful. There are many, many days you're not going to feel like it, but you need to write anyway if you want to be a successful published author. It just comes with the territory of being a human being. So when I say feelings aren't relevant, I'm not saying in the whole scope of your life that your feelings aren't relevant, because believe me, that's not what I think. But what I am saying is that you can do things even when you don't feel ready. So telling ourselves we don't feel like it or we don't feel ready is a way of making sure that we don't take action. And confidence is a great example. So people often say, when I'm feeling more confident, I'll get started. Or when I have more knowledge, I'll be more confident, I'll feel more confident, and then I can do what I want to do. Or I'll get started once I do some more work, I gather some more knowledge, I work with other people, so I get, more experience through working with them. Then I'll feel more ready to get started. Then I'll have more confidence and I'll feel like I'm more ready. The fact is that that's not how you get confidence, right? You have to get confidence from doing. So confidence is a result. It's not a requirement. I can't tell you how many people I work with that say, well, if I had more confident, I would do that. If I was more confident, I'd apply for that job. If I was more confident, I'd try skiing. The only way you get more confident is by doing. So being confident is not a requirement. Feeling more confident is definitely not a requirement. You must do to build confidence. So practice whatever it is you want to do, practice it. And you will at first feel terrible, but practice versus getting more information. So I have a young woman that I do some mentoring with, and she often says to me, well, I need more. She wants to create a program, and she's super capable, super smart. But whatever's in her way, her story is that I'll just practice, like I'll do more volunteer work, or I'll do an event and I'll like be in the background and support them, and then I'll be ready and I'll feel ready to do my own event. And we've had many conversations about this, and I keep saying maybe, but like really you just have to do your own event, and then step into it, do it, you'll learn from it, but you will get more ready, you'll feel more confident and competent when you actually practice it. Having more information, standing in the background and watching other people is not going to give it to you. So I often talk about being on the court versus being in the stands. So we build confidence by doing, as I said, as opposed to building more knowledge. So the young lady that I'm referring to, who is brilliant, isn't going to actually be on the court when she's in the background supporting someone else to create their event. Yes, she will learn some things for sure, but she's way past that. And whatever's blocking her, it isn't more information. It isn't, definitely there's some lack of confidence in herself there. And she's not going to get that from more practicing behind the scenes. She's going to gain that confidence by not having more knowledge, but by getting on the court instead of staying in the stands, just observing, getting out there, creating her own event, learning from her own mistakes, learning from her own successes, learning from feedback from other people. That's actually how she's going to feel more ready. She's not going to feel that way until after the fact. She's not going to feel more confident until after the fact. She's going to gain those things by doing that. And so we live in a world of terror and not knowing. Not knowing is, often a failure. I mean, it isn't, but it's considered that. And we've learned that if you don't know the answer, then, like hide under the desk. And I struggled with that all the time in the world I lived in. It was like, in the corporate environment, it was like, you need to know. And I mean, you were told if you don't know, don't say you don't know. Tell them you'll get back to them. I get that whole concept, but the message was, it's not okay to not know. And of course, it's impossible to know everything. And especially when you're learning something you don't know. So there's a lot of social stigma around not knowing. And of course, we're inundated with knowledge and information. And that still isn't going to make us feel better in doing something that's uncomfortable and different. So when we're in the stands, we don't change anything. We get more knowledge, like more knowledge with no action is more knowledge, but it's not going to help you attain what it is you want to attain. So back to practice versus more information. If you practice, you'll get what you're looking for, whatever that is. You'll be more comfortable, you'll be more competent, you'll be more confident, and you will feel more ready. Every time you step out there, you'll feel better. So when I was thinking about this topic this morning, and it was yesterday, it was my coach was talking in a group that I was in, and he was talking about how we rely on our feelings. So that prompted me to have this conversation today. And I was thinking about when I was a competitive skater, I never felt ready enough. My whole life revolved around competition dates. So I knew that I was competing at X time, say October. Then there was a national event in January, and on and on. And so my whole life revolved around that cycle. And I remember counting down the days on my calendar, cross them off, like in all the preparation. And no matter what, I never felt ready enough, no matter what. So I always feared imperfection, making errors, stumbling, looking foolish, losing, not winning, losing. And in thinking about this today, it was like I could never get better at competing unless I practice competing. So in any sport, you spend 99% of your time training, 99% of your time performing in a non-competitive environment. And there are tons and tons of great athletes, and there are very few great competitors, in my view. And the competitors are the successful competitors are the people that can really do what they do well every day under pressure. And that's very different than doing it every day well in the arena with, just everybody that's always there watching you. It's a very, very different environment, very, very different pressure. So in order to build confidence as a competitor, I had to compete. And there were days where I competed really successfully and days where I didn't. I never felt, ready enough because nothing was ever good enough. And it was, most sports you can always be better at. So there's always that living from the place of not enough. So never feeling 100% prepared. And that doesn't mean that, I didn't work hard enough and stringent enough and smart enough to really prepare myself. But it's very different to compete under pressure. So in order to build that muscle, you must get out there and do that under pressure. And you will fail, and you will stumble, and you will get up, and you will do it again. And the more you do that, the greater your strength under that kind of pressure. So it's interesting when we think about I find it astounding when we start anything in our lives that we think we should be good at it. And yet I can come from that place. For sure, I can come from that place, which is silliness, because how can you know until you practice and become more competent at it? So again, I was thinking this morning about new jobs, new careers. So again, never felt ready, needed to get into the work, needed to get into the action to build the confidence, to grow the skills around whatever it was I was learning. So, when I went from being an athlete, being the student, to being the teacher, because I taught for 15 years as a professional coach, it felt very scary. So it felt very scary. It felt very not ready. And it was only by, regardless of that feeling, stepping out there and doing and practicing being a professional coach and learning from where I failed, that I was able to get better at it. So, I mean, of course, in hindsight, it makes total sense. But when you're in it, if I had waited till I felt ready to be a teacher in that realm of my life, I never would have taught anybody anything, because I never would have felt ready. It's only through the practice and stepping out onto the court and being the teacher that I became more competent at it. And that's true of anything. So becoming, a public servant in the corporate environment, you go from the university classroom to the job site. And I can tell you, at least in the sports world, I'd been an athlete my whole life. So stepping onto the other side of the fence as a professional instructor wasn't absolutely foreign to me. I had some concept of what that person would do, but being a public servant, going back to school as an adult, and then stepping into the public service in a job which I knew nothing about. I absolutely knew nothing. It was absolutely terrifying when I think back about it. So I felt very afraid, and I felt totally not ready, because again, I had lots of knowledge, all book knowledge, which is all good, but I had no experience or practical experience. I really did not know what to expect. And so it took a lot of stumbling, learning, but it was in the, on the court learning. It wasn't, I'll read more books on how to be a leader, or I'll read more books on creating policy. It was only through being in those environments, working with other people that had those experiences that I actually learned and built my own confidence around being an expert in whatever field I was in. So finally, I'm going to just touch on going from being an executive coach. So going from, again, training to be a coach of people, not a sports coach, to practicing with clients. So again, felt very scary, totally incompetent, didn't know what I was doing. And it was only through practice and feedback and more training and more practice that I actually developed the confidence and the skills to be where I am today. And it's ongoing learning, but there's such a difference between knowledge learning and skin in the game learning. So it is only through the doing of whatever it is that you actually want to achieve that you're going to develop the confidence, but recognizing you're gonna have to do it whether it's scary or not. Regardless of your feelings, you can't get to the other side of that unless you step into it with those feelings. So waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel confident, is waiting for nothing to happen. Nothing will change. So I want to have a question here, which is, what are we most afraid of? It's not our feelings, although sometimes we love to stomp those down. I can speak for myself. But what we're most afraid of is looking bad, making mistakes, falling, failing, same as falling, and being criticized. So in my opinion, these are what hold me back from stepping onto the court and getting messy and being imperfect and making mistakes and stumbling and falling. It is all of that, the fear of that holds me back from getting on the court. It's not about not feeling ready. So my feelings are my feelings are my feelings, and today I'll feel some way. Talked to my coach last week. A couple days before I talked to him, I had been feeling really down in the dumps. And, he asked me, how's it going? Because I had submitted some form that talks about stuff that we do in this program I'm in. And I said, I'm okay. I feel much better. And that's the reality of feelings. So if I got up every day and operated my life in accordance with my feelings, I would have done nothing for that entire week. So that's my point around not just relying on our feelings to step into what it is we want in life, or to take action, or to dictate whatever it is that we're going to make a decision about. Okay. Courage. I want to talk a bit about courage because we talked about confidence. So when you get on the court and when you step into what it is you want and you start practice showing up differently. So for myself, I'm doing a lot of work on my leadership, and I can tell you, every month I do a session with a friend of mine who's a co-colleague, and we are getting feedback on our leadership in this program that I'm in. And it's extremely uncomfortable. And every time I do this session once a month, my feelings, if I relied on my feelings, I wouldn't show up. I would not show up because it's uncomfortable and I don't like it. But I want to be better at what it is I do. I want to, enhance my leadership skills. It makes a big difference in the work I do with other people. So I have to get into that regardless. Regardless of my feelings, I have to show up. I don't have to do anything. I choose to show up. But the bottom line is that it takes courage for us to practice leading differently. When we feel we're not ready or not prepared, it takes courage for me to do that session every month. And part of me doesn't like to admit that, but it does. It takes courage because it's hard. And one of the coaches said, well, hard is a choice, Heather. And I get that. It is a choice. And my feelings are that it's hard. My feelings are that it's uncomfortable. My desire is to be better at it. My desire is to sit in the discomfort of the feedback that I interpret as not being good enough. And from there, strengthening how I lead and how I show up and how I deal with not feeling enough, not feeling good enough, not feeling professional enough, not feeling whatever I feel. It's only through the doing and being on the court and actually being in that practice that I am growing tenfold. So that's a perfect example of, for me, that it takes courage, not my feelings, to build my confidence, to be better in that realm of my life. And it's brave to act in the face of my fear and my discomfort. And if there's one thing I know, I have a lot of bravery, and my whole life is an example of that. I don't really need other people to tell me that today. I just need to look back on the course of my life, and I can see that that has been who I be and how I've showed up in my life in many, many ways. And again, it's only through growth that we're able to stretch that and do more with that. So on that note, I don't have much more to say today, but I did want to give a shout out for my Illuminate program, which is about leadership, and it is called Illuminate, Unleash Your Inner Leadership Brilliance. And I right now have two groups running. So a cohort that started in January and a cohort that started in April. And the next group starts in September, and I'm doing enrollment now. So if anybody would be interested in having a conversation about what that might look like and where you're looking to grow in your leadership, then I'd love to have a conversation with you. So there's that, and there's only 10 participants, 10 seats. And also, too, I'm really excited because I'm going to be running that program inside an organization in September as well. So feeling super excited because I say this is my baby, this is my creation, this is the work I love, because it really is about showing up in our leadership in a different way. It is about really bringing our humanity to our leadership, not simply the title, the position that I'm in, but how am I being as a leader, and what is the impact that I'm having, and where am I really stretching to grow myself so that I can show up in a way that truly serves other people in their leadership. That is the work, and it is called Illuminate for a reason, because it is all about how we are showing up. It has nothing to do with what's out there, and that's a hard place to look. Not where most of us look. Most of us look outside for the answers. And what I know and what I work with, the people I work with, we're looking within because we have the brilliance, the power, the skills, the ability to do what it is we really want to do and to show up in life how we really want to show up versus how we're showing up. So often we hold back on who we really are, and those are the pieces of ourselves that actually really serve other people, because it's our humanity that we tend to hide, our imperfections, the parts of ourselves that we see as not good enough. And oftentimes those are our greatest strengths. And so it's really about shining the light within and seeing how you're showing up and where you'd like to shift that. I love this work, and I'm seeing great results with the people that are actually in the program now, and really excited for them because they are leading, they are on the court. And yeah, man, it's tough sometimes, but they're doing the work and they're getting the results. So I'm really excited. And if you're interested at all, make sure you connect with me. And you can connect with me here on Facebook or on LinkedIn. Anyways, have a great day, and I'll see you next week. Take good care.